Hello, everyone. You've just tuned in to the NetSuite podcast, and I'm your host, Kendall Fisher, hoping you are all gearing up for a great holiday season. On this episode, we're joined by Rebecca VanHousen. She's our Senior Sales Consulting Manager and our resident QuickBooks expert, as we've dubbed her, who will be diving into some of the biggest challenges businesses face on QuickBooks and how NetSuite addresses those challenges. She'll discuss everything from the lack of reporting capabilities in QuickBooks to obstacles in growing internationally or managing multiple subsidiaries. VanHousen also discusses QuickBooks' missing CRM, HR, payroll, and supply chain management tools, and how all of that leads to disparate, duct-taped systems that result in more manual processes and inefficiencies. She even addresses the fears of moving off QuickBooks and onto NetSuite, having done so herself. Needless to say, you won't want to miss this episode coming up next.
You're listening to the NetSuite podcast, where we discuss what's happening within NetSuite, why we're doing it, and where we're heading in the future. We'll dive into the details about the software and the people at NetSuite who are behind all the moving parts. We'll also feature customer growth stories, discussing the ups and downs of running a company and how one integrated system can help your business continue to scale.
Hi, Rebecca. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kendall.
So today we are diving into a discussion around QuickBooks. But before we get into all of that, can you help our audience understand your background a little bit and why that's sort of set you up to be our quote unquote in-house expert on this topic?
Sure. Despite the fact that I'm old, I have 22 years of accounting experience. I spent the first 10 years in public accounting, working with small businesses, doing taxes, tax planning, helping, clients with their QuickBooks instances. And the last 12 years I spent in the software industry, where I was a controller and CFO using QuickBooks Enterprise for 9.5 years, until we went through an acquisition and we were really tasked to scale for that second exit strategy. So we purchased NetSuite to help us do that. And that's where my love of NetSuite started. And I've been here for 5 years now.
Your love of NetSuite, even after all that time working with QuickBooks, huh?
Yes, it's true. It happened.
Well, I would say that does, in fact, make you an expert. So let's just dive right in. For starters, what are some of the biggest reasons businesses typically start out running on QuickBooks? What are the benefits?
I think we see, most companies start out with QuickBooks because it's quick to get started and it's inexpensive.
But as those businesses continue to grow, it might be quick and easy and relatively cheap to get started. But as those businesses continue to grow, what are the top challenges they then face running on QuickBooks?
I think the number one challenge is reporting. Companies really need flexible reporting to make proactive business decisions. From a multi-subsidiary or multiple location standpoint and international growth, that's another reason. A CRM tool or customer relationship management that's integrated into their accounting system. Integrated HR and payroll solutions is another reason. Supply chain management, inventory, demand planning, order management. And finally, just at the end of the day, you get tired of having disparate systems.
Okay, that is a lot to unpack there. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it back to the very first point you made, which is that businesses struggle on QuickBooks when it comes to reporting. What issues does QuickBooks present there?
So QuickBooks reporting isn't flexible and not easy to customize. And they really only have one segment for class for specific reporting.
And how does this impact a business?
So we find that a lot of companies spend a lot of time in Excel. They have to download their reports in order to make changes and do the customization they need. And with only one class segment, they're not able to analyze their business in multiple ways.
So there's a couple issues in there then. First of all, a lot of manual processes, bandaging systems together to get some of that reporting. And then second, the inability to make real-time decisions, right? If you can't analyze your what's going on with your business in different ways.
Yeah, exactly. And, you need the ability to customize because businesses change so rapidly. And when, in the state of COVID, they need to make different decisions today than they made yesterday. So they need to be able to have a flexible system with multiple segments so they can slice and dice their data. And, you can save them, you can customize reports and save them. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel each month in Excel.
Yeah, I've heard from multiple customers on this podcast actually who have said if they were still running on QuickBooks during COVID, they just don't know how they would have done anything, how they would have been able to pivot the way that they did or make the decisions that they did. So I've heard it. If I've heard it once, I've heard it several times.
Yes.
So then that brings me, how does NetSuite address these reporting challenges?
So we do have multiple segments, and so you can, as well as custom segments. So when you do need to analyze your business in a new way, even somebody without, like myself, somebody like myself who doesn't have an IT background but an accounting background can create a custom field, put that onto a report, and see, that business impact in a whole new light. And then save that report so you're not having to do it over and over again.
And then with some of the other things that you had mentioned, earlier, which is the flexibility, the not having to do all of those manual tasks and managing with spreadsheets and so on and so forth. And then finally, that idea of real-time reporting. Is that all? Everything, all of those are addressed with NetSuite?
Yeah, real-time reporting, real-time dashboard visibility. Yeah, the dashboards themselves with Suite Success that are already pre-configured with pretty much everything a typical controller or CFO would be interested in seeing is right there when you open your instance of NetSuite. You don't have to run reports to get that visibility. You've got dashboards as well as the ability to customize the views on your dashboards as well as reporting. It's a really flexible tool.
I also want to go to another point you made, which was multi-subsidiary and international growth, and the challenges that come with that when a business is running on QuickBooks. So if a business did want to scale internationally or, acquire additional businesses or what have you, what challenges would they face then on QuickBooks?
So QuickBooks isn't designed for multiple entities or multiple locations. So you have to have separate instances for everything, which, leads to manual consolidation and not a full holistic look at your business when you have multiple subsidiaries or locations. It doesn't have multiple currency, and it doesn't have the ability to report in multiple formats. So for that international growth, when you need to report in GAAP, IFRS, or, do statutory reporting. And
I mean, if COVID had not happened, there was a lot going on this year in changes when it came to kind of reporting and meeting regulations, right?
Yeah, there's lots of new regulations from lease accounting, revenue recognition, so many different reporting standards.
And just because they were postponed this year doesn't mean that they're not still coming. So this is something that businesses who are running on QuickBooks need to start thinking about if they haven't. Hopefully they have, but if they haven't already.
Yes, for sure.
And on NetSuite, how do we address some of those challenges, especially when it comes to kind of meeting those regulations?
So, NetSuite has the ability to report multiple entities on one platform, in multiple reporting formats. We have integrated currency and translation, automatic translation, intercompany transactions, really to support, growing businesses in one platform that they can see everything, all encompassing their business in one system.
So I kind of want to go back then to what you said about QuickBooks. So if you have multiple entities or multiple subsidiaries, and does that mean you have different, literally you have to have different QuickBooks systems running and they don't necessarily speak to each other? So you're having to roll that out into a separate spreadsheet?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a really manual and time-consuming process for a lot of businesses because you need to have visibility for each separate entity or separate location. And the only way to do that in QuickBooks is to have separate instances, separate setups in QuickBooks. But in NetSuite, you have one instance of NetSuite, so you can automatically see across all of those subsidiaries and locations in one place, as opposed to going into another instance of QuickBooks, but then the consolidation happens in Excel, where you see everything together.
Right. A lot of manual labor that goes into that. In terms of NetSuite and meeting some of those standards like GAAP, IFRS, any of the lease accounting standards that have changed and so on and so forth, how does NetSuite stay up to date with all of those changes and ensure that our customers are doing the same?
So we have dedicated in-house teams that work specifically on accounting standards, so that you can be assured that NetSuite, when there is a new standard, like when ASC 606 came out, we gave you the ability to transition from ASC 605 to ASC 606 because we have those in-house experts to help us, and they build that in NetSuite. So we stay on top of changing regulations as they're rolling out.
Got it. All right, switching gears. Customer relationship management, or CRM, as you mentioned before. Does QuickBooks have a native CRM tool?
No, they don't. So their customer record is just very simple, and it doesn't provide a lot of value outside of, the basics of the customer name, the address, and billing information.
Okay, that's an issue because, as we've said, and as most businesses, if not all businesses would say, is your customer is your most valuable asset, is it not?
Yes, it is.
So what sort of roadblocks does this present in terms of, customer relationship management and acquisition, retaining customers, as well as, that sort of visibility across the kind of customer life cycle?
So, because it doesn't allow for this customer visibility, companies are either having to manage it in Excel, which is difficult and again time consuming, or they have to buy a separate CRM tool, and most of those don't integrate to QuickBooks.
Meaning, the people who are managing your customers, be it support or even marketing, some of the sales, that they may not be working off of the same information. Exactly.
Yeah, you want a all-encompassing system so that you keep track of pricing. You have controls in place around what salespeople are selling and the pricing around those, and if there's customer-specific pricing, that you can manage those things.
Well, and then even on like the marketing side, right? Like if we're sending emails, like those emails should be catered to that specific customer's interests, needs, wants, desires, shopping, history, whatever it may be, right?
Right. Yeah. And usually that's an add-on to a lot of CRM systems, but NetSuite has the ability to send out email marketing campaigns and has robust marketing functionality as well.
Yeah. Talk to me about some of NetSuite's CRM capabilities overall.
Sure. So NetSuite's, CRM really provides that complete cradle to grave customer life cycle. So, as you're nurturing those leads, as you're marketing to those leads, as they, as you need return on your investment for your marketing efforts. All of that rolls seamlessly into customers and opportunities for sales teams to manage pipeline and growth and have that visibility. And then all the way through, if you need support for your customers, NetSuite has a built-in customer support management solution as well. So it's really cradle to grave.
There's enough uncertainty to go around right now. NetSuite reduces it by giving you visibility and control. With so many critical decisions to make, you need the right numbers, and you need them right now. NetSuite by Oracle is the world's #1 cloud business system. With NetSuite, we give you financials, cash flow, payroll, inventory, and more, all in one place, so you have clear visibility and total control of your business. NetSuite customers have the flexibility to work from anywhere, with immediate clarity on critical information right at their fingertips. No more guessing, no more waiting. Make smarter decisions with confidence because you've got crystal clear visibility into your numbers. Join over 20,000 companies who trust NetSuite to stay in control.
Receive your free guide, Managing Business Uncertainty, and schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/USA. Don't wait. Get your free guide, Managing Business Uncertainty, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/USA. netsuite.com/USA.
And again, all of this ties back into the overall suite, which means everybody is getting the same information, but also that information then can be used for different areas of the business, whether it be marketing, accounting, customer support, what have you.
Right. Yep.
Once again, switching into kind of, this is what we get with an overview kind of episode like this, where we just have to get into all of it. But I know we have a series coming up actually where we're going to dive into the nitty gritty kind of themes and topics of each of these areas. But for now, let's move into HR and payroll. Can you dive into that a bit more? You mentioned that was one of the challenges businesses face when running on QuickBooks. What does that mean?
So while QuickBooks has a native payroll offering, it has multiple, and it really lacks, I think, when I used it for all of those years, it really lacks the visibility for identifying errors prior to the payroll run. And they don't have an HR solution. So that's a separate solution altogether again.
So again, different systems bandaging together, don't speak to each other, lots of manual processes. But for me, what stands out is errors prior to payroll run, meaning employees could get incorrect checks.
Yes. And nobody, nothing's worse than, paying your employees incorrectly. So, it's never a good day when that happens.
I could imagine. Now, does NetSuite have a native HR and payroll solution, and how does that create the efficiency that businesses would lack running on QuickBooks and doing this?
Sure. So NetSuite does have a full service payroll offering. So you don't have to worry about payroll compliance. It provides a complete variance analysis from period to period. So you can easily identify those errors before they happen. So for example, if you have an employee that got paid, 50 hours this week versus 40 hours last week, it's going to come up with a variance analysis to provide you so you can look at that and determine if that's correct before it happens. And there's effective dating. So some of the challenges around open enrollment or salary changes is you typically, with QuickBooks, you have sticky notes sitting all over your monitor to remind you to make those salary changes. Effective dating allows you to set it for that future date when you know it's occurring, and again, saves from those errors. And with the HR solution also encompassing it, it does so many things, but a couple of specific things are, flexible time off management, onboarding checklists, organization charts, which usually sometimes is as another system. Yeah. And the list is long, so I can't do it all today.
No, definitely. And again, we'll dive into some of the nitty gritty on this in our series that I'll note at the end of our episode here. But one of my favorite NetSuite HR solutions is our Suite People Performance Management, which I just think is so cool that we're able to tie, goals and actual performance progress to the overall the overall suite, which I think is just so, I mean, all the times that think about it, Rebecca, like all the times we've done performance reviews, not here, but in the past, and it's like you're retroactively going back and looking like, so when did I do this, and when did this happen, and when did I meet this goal, and when did I do, like it's so cumbersome and time consuming.
It is. And now, with that in your suite, it's visible to everyone across the company as well, which, with role-based permissions, you can see all of that. So instead of somebody having to run down to the HR office and ask questions, they can see it in the system.
Yeah, all on their own.
Yep.
Moving into the supply chain, which whenever I say that, it's always like, dun, dun, dun. But how does QuickBooks lack visibility into the supply chain? I know that's such a big topic to kind of unravel here, but if you could kind of give the biggest concerns when it comes to supply chain management.
Sure. So QuickBooks doesn't even have its own native inventory management. So it doesn't have demand planning or order management at all. And, you have to, again, leverage a partner, and it requires you to add not only additional costs, but additional integrations to their what they call a tech stack.
Yeah. Again, as we've been talking about, it's just kind of bandaging, duct taping together, right?
Right. Exactly.
That's where we got this phrase, the hairball from. I hate to put that picture in our listeners' heads right now, but that's where we get that kind of hairball idea from. Exactly. So again, where does NetSuite kind of come in and provide a solution here? Where does NetSuite provide visibility that QuickBooks does not when it comes to supply chain, inventory, demand planning, order management, and so on?
Sure. So NetSuite has inventory in its core, and it provides visibility for safety stock and reorder points, so you don't have stock outages or, upset customers when things run out. So full visibility from sales to the inventory management role, demand planning. So helping you figure out historical trends so it can help make suggestions for ordering. So that you don't have expensive inventory on hand. You try to manage it as much on time as possible, as well as the ability to drop ship inventory. And the order management system really helps optimize that whole order fulfillment by minimizing shipping costs from the nearest location to the customer that's buying it. And it allows for, at COVID days, in-store pickup as well as ship from store, so that customers really have a positive customer experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing that came into my head right now when you were saying all of, everything that QuickBooks really can't manage, is I just thought, how are you doing this amid COVID times? I mean, that with everything changing and with things changing along your supply chain, with suppliers not being able to fulfill, your orders, or you not being able to ship, or like you said, I mean, not even just curbside pickup anymore. It's like curbside returns. Yep. So many different things happening during this time. So I just sounds like a lot if you don't have the proper tools and processes in place. Now, as you've explained and as we've talked about throughout this entire conversation, and kind of all of these challenges, what I've been hearing is it's really just packing kind of, like you said, tech stacking, packing different systems upon different systems, and kind of duct taping and bandaging them all together. But, jokes aside, hairball jokes aside, what issues does this cause a business? Like, how does this impact an overall business's performance, success, growth, scalability?
So when you have all these separate systems like CRM and HR and inventory, demand planning, order management, it really leaves data in silos. And when you have siloed data, it's hard to make, real-time proactive decisions as one, and duplicate entry. If you're managing it in one place, you're entering it into QuickBooks as a high-level journal entry. So that causes additional reconciliation. Really, the lack of visibility from front to back office without real time just keeps you from making those proactive decisions that you need in order to be agile, especially in times like today.
So I bring this back to my final question like this, which is, how does NetSuite then solve that issue?
So NetSuite has a unified platform and a unified suite of offerings. And so you don't have silos of data and summarized data coming in. You have details to look at that could be drilled down from the system, linked orders, everything you need from the front to the back office for what your business needs in one place. So from employees to your customers to supporting your customers, a full picture of your business to make informed decisions.
Now, I'm not too biased not to ask. I mean, obviously, as we talked about at the very beginning of this episode, which is QuickBooks is quick to deploy. It's relatively easy to deploy, and it's cheap. But what are the fears associated with moving from QuickBooks onto NetSuite that businesses might typically kind of hold back on, even though they feel like they're breaking under all of the duct tape?
Right. I think the most common fear that I've heard over the last 5 years is losing visibility into historical data and how much time and effort it will take a business to get up and running on NetSuite.
And Rebecca, how would you address those fears having gone through that transition, moving off QuickBooks and on to NetSuite?
I can honestly say that it is easier than I thought it would be. Our implementation teams, they do this every single day. And the way that we make this really easy is that we provide templates so that you can populate and import all and any information that you need, either at a detailed level or a summarized level. So you can get all of your historical perspectives in, which again will help you make those better business decisions.
And any other final thoughts you'd share in terms of, QuickBooks and the kind of challenges that it brings upon businesses and how NetSuite is able to solve those challenges? Any other things you'd like to tell, first-time listeners or prospects or anybody running on QuickBooks right now and frustrated?
Sure. So, while QuickBooks is easy and cheap to get started with your business, it comes to a point where it inhibits your growth. So if you're continuing to grow and you need a system that's going to scale with you, that's NetSuite provides the holistic picture of your business, and really can help you take that to the next level, whether you're looking for bank funding or VC funding, or just need to make better decisions. NetSuite's that solution for you. And the Suite Success approach that we have, which I alluded to a little bit earlier, where it's out of the box with dashboards and reporting and visibility that you're going to need and want day one. It's really easy to leverage these leading practices in NetSuite that we've garnered from, implementing over 20,000 customers across a variety of industries. So you can get that expertise and start having better visibility into your business.
And it's not as intimidating that way, right? I mean, if we're coming at this with an approach that allows businesses to get up quick and easy, and that's also catered to their specific needs based upon, all 20,000 plus customers that we've worked with before in all of these industries, that should kind of help eliminate some of that fear that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you think about QuickBooks, you have to do it all yourself. At NetSuite, at least you have somebody that's guiding you so that you know that what you're putting in and the way you're putting it in is efficient, and you're going to get the output that you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, Rebecca, this is great. Great conversation. Thank you for giving us this kind of overview. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the NetSuite podcast. And I am sure, without a doubt, you will be back on again to dive into more.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Rebecca VanHousen for providing all of that great insight. And don't forget to tune into our new video series on Facebook as we dive much deeper into all of the ways QuickBooks may be slowing you down. I also want to shout out to our editing crew over at Lampstand and all of you, as always, for tuning in. There's much more where that came from, so make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Talk with you next time.
You just listened to the NetSuite podcast. Be sure to tune in every week with more NetSuite developments, stories, and insights into the benefits of one integrated system to help you run your business.